Hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be telling you about the new film called Begin Again. It stars Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo, as well as Catherine Keener and Hailee Steinfeld. In this film, you guys, it is a very much a music-heavy film. It's very much about kind of the reality of starting up a music career in today's world. Keira Knightley is a songwriter. She writes songs for a guy that she's been dating for a while. They go to San Francisco, to New York. They've wrote some songs for films and things like that. And so, things don't go right after a while. They break up. The guy that she's dating kind of goes on his own journey. He writes his own songs, performs his own songs. And so he kind of kicks Keira Knightley out of his life, and she's kind of on her own. And she goes to this open mic night at this bar, and she's noticed by a character played by Mark Ruffalo, who himself is also kind of down in the dumps. He's also very involved with the music industry, and he's a music executive. Who he approves the albums, he creates the albums, he decides what's good enough, what's not good enough, and things like that. And so he notices Keira Knightley's singing talent at this open mic night at this bar that her friend kind of forced her into, and they'll get into more detail when you watch the film. And he recognizes her singing talent, and basically he wants to produce records and albums with Keira Knightley's character. But what they find out is, and this really isn't much of a spoiler, it's more of a setup for the movie, is basically they can't find funding for this. The guy who basically approves the albums, even higher up, more so than Mark Ruffalo, doesn't want to fund the studio recordings for Keira Knightley's music. He really likes her stuff, but he doesn't want to quite fund her recordings for their studio. So Mark Ruffalo is basically on his own, and throughout the course of the film, they have to go to basically all these outdoor places that they can record at, whether it's street alleys, whether it's lakes, whether it's bridges, whether it's things that they hopefully won't get a lot of background noise with, that they can just actually record the music that they need to, and hopefully get a really successful album out and get Keira Knightley's singing career back out into the world, since she was just songwriting for a while, be able to credit her as both a singer and a songwriter, as well as get Mark Ruffalo's music executive career back on track, since he was kind of down in the dumps before meeting up with Keira Knightley's character. So I enjoyed Begin Again, you guys. I thought it was a pretty good movie, not a perfect film, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. It has a great view on the music industry, kind of how difficult it is to get into, kind of, how it doesn't really pay that well, but, the fame and the glory and the albums and the interviews and all that stuff kind of pays off, and it's worth pursuing. But they really made the point pretty clear that not a lot of these musicians make a lot of money. And so the movie very much has a very good grasp of that subject. So I really enjoyed it for what it was, like I said. For the positives and negatives of Begin Again, I really like I was talking about earlier. It was a great depiction of music careers and kind of how difficult it is to get into, and like I said, how it doesn't really pay that well and things like that. So it's a really good depiction as to real life music careers. There's also some great acting performances in Begin Again. We have Catherine Keener, Hailee Steinfeld, Keira Knightley, Mark Ruffalo. All of them do very, very good performances here. Out of those four people I mentioned, it's probably not their best film. All four of those people have been in better films. In fact, Catherine Keener and Mark Ruffalo actually dated in the Where the Wild Things Are movie, for those who saw that, by Spike Jonze. I liked their performances a little better in that film, though Mark Ruffalo doesn't have much of an appearance in Where the Wild Things Are. But overall, acting wise, all of them did a terrific job. Even the people I didn't mention all did a terrific job. But at the same time, this isn't their best film that all of them have been in yet. Begin Again also has some really well done music. I do have a complaint that I'll mention here in the negatives pretty soon. But as far as music goes, is it good? Is it effective? Was it well written for this movie? Yes, it was. It's all very good music that they use for the movie. I also like how Begin Again has a very good rom com vibe. It very much has, it's definitely a romance comedy. You can definitely tell they're aiming for that. But I like how it isn't. It's it has that vibe of one, but it isn't a romance comedy. I mean, it's really not about two people falling in love. It's about two people getting their music careers up and going again since they were down in the dumps. One of them's divorced. One of them, broke up with the boyfriend and things like that. Um, so it really isn't a romantic comedy, but it definitely has that vibe, and I like how they managed to maintain that vibe over the course of this movie. Early on in the movie, well, I shouldn't say early on. This happens around the time where Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley are trying to figure out how to record the music and get a band together and things like that. There's a group of beatbox musicians, and when I say beatbox musicians, they're the guys that, for those who are planning on seeing the movie, there's a scene where like they're at like this mansion place, and they're talking to other musicians to recruit them for this band to really have good music behind Keira Knightley's singing voice for her songs. But there's a group of beatbox guys, and one of them with like shades. He's a little bit heavier. He has some tattoos on his upper body. He was perfect in every scene of this movie. I really enjoyed that group of people in general, but that character himself, I almost wish he had a bigger role in this, just because he really had like good music improv skills. He was funny. He was entertaining. I really like that character, and I really wish they used him more. But when they did use him in this film, it just lit up the scene greatly, and it got a million times better because of this man's presence. So I really like those beatbox musician characters that we use in this movie. For the negatives of Begin Again, this is kind of playing off something I was talking about earlier. Though I loved the music in this film, it was extremely obvious that they pre-recorded a lot of this music, to the point where you can definitely tell like it's not Keira Knightley singing that certain song, or it's not. I think Adam Levine's in this film. You can definitely tell that was not his voice for that part. Um, it got very obvious. It was very into that scene that they obviously had to lip sync and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it really bothered me. It's not going to bother a lot of people, but for me personally, I thought it really kind of ruined this opportunity of really allowing those people to sing on the spot and things like that. Because I'm sure Keira Knightley and the rest of them, with the right trainer, I'm sure they can sing beautifully. But it's really too bad they went with a pre-recorded route with this. I would have really liked to have seen some live people actually playing music kind of vibe to it. Another negative I have of this film is there's some unlikable traits to several of these characters, specifically with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo, and that's too bad because the film follows them basically the whole time. They're basically the main characters. Mark Ruffalo's a drunk and he does a lot of other stuff in this film. It's just like, really, dude, you're doing that. And Keira Knightley, she always had like these weird little tangents about not being able to dress the way she wants to, and even though Mark Ruffalo is this executive and he knows what he's doing and things like that, there's just some small little parts where it's just like eh, they went from likable people to unlikable people, and it was really too bad they had to go that route. It's fine if you want to have likable characters with flaws. In fact, I like when a film does that, but it got to the point in some points in Begin Again where they make them so unlikable to the point where you can't even root for them anymore. So that's one thing I think they really could have improved upon. Another complaint about Begin Again is it just doesn't feel very original. It feels like something you'd see inside what's that Coen Brothers film they did recently? Inside Llewyn Davis. It kind of felt like like Ray and Jersey Boys, and it felt like it was just kind of late to the ball game. It felt like it was just another film lying around that already got made, and now this one got made. And I don't know. I felt like they could have done something more original with this. I think if they played off that whole it's a rom com that isn't a rom com kind of thing a little bit more, I think the script maybe could have been a little bit better. But as far as originality goes, Begin Again doesn't really have a lot of originality, to be honest. I also think Begin Again has kind of a slightly messy narrative. For the first like 40 minutes of the film, it always switches off between Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo's lives and stuff like that. And then it gets to the point where it's both of them and it's third person, and it felt very messy. I can tell what they were trying to do. I knew why they did it, but I don't know. I'm one of those people where you can't have first person on this person, then first person on this person, now third person on this person, now first person on this person, now third person, now first person, now this person, and now it's just like it gets really messy and it kind of loses focus with the movie. And I got to be honest, I really didn't care for that narrative too much. And overall, to kind of sum up all my negatives, I think Begin Again just needed a better script. It really did. I think it's a very good movie, but it really needed a better script. It needed a cleaner script. It just, there's a lot of mistakes that they made with the movie. But overall, I give Begin Again an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a nice movie. I think it's a good one watch movie. I really can't see myself watching this several times. But for what it was, the music they did in it was very good. The performances are very good. If you're going into this expecting to just watch a good one-time watch kind of film, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with Begin Again. Or if you have a huge passion for music, I think this film is also really going to do it for you. So Begin Again, 8.5 out of 10 for me. Very good film, but its script really needed some work, and it also needed to do something that felt a little bit more original than what they actually chose to do with it. So Begin Again, 8.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good movie.